They are getting great results and a great cost for their results, and their ads have longevity. So their ads take longer to burn out than my own ads take to burn out. But nevertheless, let me help you out. This is hopefully some things you can take away from this episode with some ways to diagnose why your ads might not be working. Hey, welcome to Aussie Online Growing on Shopify. This is episode 153. Oh, my little Shopify counter just went off behind me. Oh, that's always so fun. I often catch that on camera. This episode is about why your ads might have stopped working. It's actually an episode about creative fatigue, creative burnout, ad fatigue, ad burnout. It's kind of different terms, I guess, people use for when an ad was working and then it stops working. And we've all had that happen. If you run ads, that happens actually on a regular basis. It's kind of a constant investigation and troubleshooting exercise to set up ads so that they run as long as possible before they start to fatigue or burn out, or frankly just fall off a cliff and stop working altogether. This episode is going to give you some clues or suggestions or things you could potentially look at inside your own ad account. These are things I look at inside my ad account and my clients' ads account that I look after for the clients that I support with their meta ads, on evaluating or diagnosing why creatives have stopped working, why ads have stopped working, what went wrong with an ad that it stopped working. Stopped working is common. Ads that stop working is usual. The online game we're in, or the online business we are in, is like a constant rolling out new ads, feeding Meta new ads. It's a giant machine. Meta needs new ads often, lots of new ads often, and it's kind of the race we're all in now. And I'm sad about that because I don't like to make images and videos for my e-commerce store, and I know many of you relate to that. Some of you do like making creatives. I have two clients at the moment who love it and are good at it as well, and their ad account reflects it, that they are getting great results and a great cost for their results, and their ads have longevity. So their ads take longer to burn out than my own ads take to burn out. But nevertheless, let me help you out. This is hopefully some things you can take away from this episode with some ways to diagnose why your ads might not be working. And a lot of these things are related specifically to the creative, so to the video, the images, the carousels, the graphics, and looking at potentially why they have stopped working for you. Number one is not enough creative. And there's like part 1A and part 1B. So part 1A would be the volume of creative, which I sort of just talked about. We cannot run one or two ads anymore. Typically, this does a bit depend, of course, on your budget as well. And I have an episode, it's about 10 episodes ago, called How to Spend $15 a Day on Meta or $150 a day on Meta and succeed with either of those. And it just comes down to strategy. There's markedly different strategies to either of those approaches, and you can win with both, but they require different things of you as a business owner, as an e-commerce store, and sort of the back end of all your systems that are set up to see success with spending a very small amount per day or a large amount per day. However, having said that, as a general statement and a general rule, Meta just needs the volume. We need to give Meta more ads, those in more, just the volume more. So we can ad sets or campaigns with like one or two creatives just really don't cut it at all anymore in 2025. Even down to competition. There's just so many more advertisers on the platform now. I found that even in being part of a coaching mindset training course. I talked about it a few episodes ago called E-commerce Equation. You've probably heard of it because you've probably seen their ads. And even just being inside that group and seeing the hundreds of other business owners in there are more people learning ads and trying to advertise on Meta now than there was a year or two ago. I'm convinced of it. And our CPMs reflect that. So CPMs is your cost per 1,000 impressions. That's actually the basis on which Meta bills you, based on your CPMs. And my CPMs and my clients' CPMs have increased on a year ago about 30%. I don't know what's usual across the board or standard across the board, but I do know that an increase in CPM is standard across the board from a year ago because there's more competition out there. So we need to be giving Meta more ads, also more variety of ads. And I spoke about this in my previous episode where I did a screen share of building an ad and showing you some of the cool AI generated images that Meta produced for my own Black Friday sales campaign that are so much better than just like 90 days ago. They're AI so much in the last few months. And there's a whole episode I have about that, which is episode 152. So I encourage you to go and check that one out. You'll want to watch it because it is a screen share episode. So I show you building an ad. However, that one thing I do talk about in that episode is the variety of creative. We need to give Meta more and also more variety of creative as well to speak to different users at different points along their customer journey. So that's my point one. That may be why your ads have stopped working. Are you running one ad? Or are you running 10 ads that are all similar? Are you running 10 ads that are all 10 images with just 10 different text overlays? It's too similar. That's why they're not going to work. So we need the volume of ads and the variety of ads. Number two is about strategy or campaign build. And it's a bit similar to one, which is not, it just, you need more ads inside one ad set. So if you're running Advantage Plus shopping, and you have maybe 2 or 3 ads inside that campaign, it absolutely will stop working. It needs lots and lots of different creative inside Advantage Plus Shopping or ASC, like 10 to 15 ads or 20 ads. Sort of depends a bit on how much you're prepared to spend per day on your budget. But that point two about like having too few ads in one ad set is really about your strategy build. If you're running a traditional campaign, so maybe ASC hasn't worked for you, which one of my clients, we're running detailed interest because ASC hasn't worked for him. One of my other clients, we're also running detailed interest for her, not because ASC hasn't worked, we haven't tried it yet, but because the daily budget is too small really to give ASC a red hot crack. So in those two scenarios, running a detailed interest campaign, you can run less ads because you're giving kind of Meta a small budget for each ad per day, like $10, $20, $25 for one ad per day. But again, if you only have one ad in the campaign or 2 ads, they are going to fatigue faster or burn out faster. If you try and scale a campaign quickly, it will often just frankly stop working. So if you have a campaign that was doing well and you wanted to increase it and scale it, and then it stopped working, often the increase in the budget is kind of what triggers it to kind of glitch out and stop because it needs to find its feet again. If you increase your budget on an ad set by too much per day, and too much, this is debatable. The percentage of how much we should increase an ad set per day is hotly contested amongst media buyers, and I like to increase a budget between 15 and 20% every 4 days. Like I stretch it out, I'm really conservative. Other people will increase a budget by 30% every 48 hours. Whichever one you do, you need to give it time to kind of regroup and settle again. If you're confident the creative you are using is amazing because maybe you've had great success with it before, then you can scale more aggressively. You just need to give it a longer runway afterwards to find its feet again. All of this comes down to risk. It really is a bit of a risk reward thing. Like, where does your appetite sit for risk and reward with ads? It does sometimes feel like gambling. I tell myself often when I'm inside my own ad account and my client's ads account that we are buying data. You're buying data that helps Meta learn about your products and your services and your website and your customers. That will get you results. And then the game, I guess, is about getting you a cost-effective result because the Meta will get you purchases. Like, don't you go for a purchase campaign, you will get a purchase. But do you want to spend, I don't know, this is a random number based on my e-commerce store. Do you want to spend $12 for a purchase if I have like a retargeting campaign where I'm looking at targeting warm users who already know about my brand? Or do you want to spend $300 for a single purchase? Both of those things are doable and achievable and can happen. But the strategy behind which campaign type you set up will have an effect on the creative and how quickly it fatigues or burns out. And scaling your budget in a small way or a large way can also do the same. If you're scaling a budget on a campaign that's retargeting, so it's basically sort of middle of the funnel traffic, like your video viewers, website visitors, Facebook engaged, Instagram engaged, or your sort of warm middle of the funnel traffic, and you're going to scale that campaign, that often will kind of die a pretty quick death within a matter of 48 hours if your frequency is too high. which is my next point. Should I go to that one next? Let's do that. Frequency. Your frequency, you need to check in how much your ads are already showing in front of people before you decide if your creative is still running well or not running. And if your creative is burnt out or stopped working or fatiguing, it may be your frequency has creeped up too high, which means Meta starts to circle the drain. I use this term a lot because I think it's a perfect illustration of what Meta starts to do. If it finds a group of people and you've got a purchase conversion objective and it finds a small group of people in that large audience you targeted who are buyers, it will pummel them, and the speed at which it pummels them depends how much a day you're going to spend. Your frequency will creep up accordingly, and because Meta will just like go tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter until the frequency gets crazy out of control. Your cost per purchase will go through the roof, and you've potentially eaten away all your profits by that point that you had made at the start of that campaign. That's a common example of how an ad fatigues or an ad dies off, is that the frequency actually just gets too high and the reach has dropped. So the reach over a period of time, maybe you look at the reach over 5 days and then the previous 5 days, you can see the reach is dropping. So the group of people Meta is showing it to is getting smaller and smaller. Then also the people in there who are purchasers are seeing it more and more and more and more and more. So it is circling the drain on this small group of people. By that stage, you're just wasting money and your ad is absolutely fatigued. But that ad could do really well inside a different campaign. So the ad, in a sense, hasn't fatigued itself. It's actually just kind of run its course. And can you take it into an Advantage Plus shopping instead? Or can you add it to a detailed interest? Can you just shelve it for a couple of months and bring it back? Because often that's just what it needs. If your reach and frequency, or if your frequency is creeped up so high, and that's an arbitrary number so high, like it depends on the audience size you're targeting and the date range you're looking at. But for argument's sake, let's say your frequency is 15, which means that on average, people are seeing your ad 15 times in a 14-day window. Oh, my little Shopify counter went off again. This is so exciting. Side note, sorry, this is so exciting. My Black Friday sale is on at the moment. And I had my biggest revenue day ever yesterday on day one of my sale in 4 years. My biggest revenue day ever. My revenue was up yesterday 350% on the start of my Black Friday day, my Black Friday sale in 2024. 350% yesterday, my revenue was up from day one of last year of my sale. So I've got an episode coming up next about that. That's why I'm recording it though. My little Shopify counter just went off again. It's very exciting. Side note, back to the topic. Your high frequency. So frequency could be the reason that your ad has fatigued and the ad stopped working. I say fatigued, like I said, that's because of the term we use. Creative fatigue, the ad's fatigued, it's died off, it's worn out. Basically, as far as you're concerned, it's just stopped working. It's flat out just stopped working. The next one would be is if it's the wrong audience or the wrong message to that audience. So a little bit about strategy and kind of what I've sort of talked about before. Are you targeting warm traffic or cold traffic? How are you checking that? Have you got audience overlap? Is your reach like overlapped between some campaigns? And so you're reaching the same people too many times, like across campaigns, so you're wasting money. Oh my goodness, my Shopify thing went off again. This is so exciting, guys. I'm sorry, in the middle of an episode. Guys, all these sales coming through today. This is day 2 of my sale. I'm just so excited. This is great. I'm like all the stuff behind me and boxes that are kind of stacked against my wall that you can't see are going to be heading out this door and turning all this inventory behind me into cash this week. Sorry, back to the episode. Sorry, I'm so pleased. I hope your Black Friday sale has gone well or is going well or you've planned one. Anyway, listen to my next episode after this one. Like, come back in a week and check in and I'll tell you all the stats about how it went for day 1. Where was I? Strategy. The strategy type or the campaign build. If you are targeting a middle of funnel retargeted group of users on Meta, that frequency will creep up fast. And I'm using frequency often in this episode because it's such a good indicator of creative fatigue, is seeing how quickly the frequency creeps up, especially when you look at different time frames, 7 days, 14 days, 5 days. I mean, it's trickier to look at time frames because frequency, you want to look at a long period of time. But you can see how if you look at a long period of time, but the longer you leave the ad running, that same period of time, the frequency keeps getting higher and higher. So in other words, if I look at the frequency today for 14 days and it's 2, That's okay. I'm like, it's not too bad. But if I look at the frequency again in 5 days, again for 14 days, and it's three, it's telling me that things are starting to slow down on that ad. And soon it may stop working. So what's your cost per result? What is your cost per purchase? What's your sort of the metric you need to be spending for a new customer to acquire a new customer on Meta? And how much is that going up? And all of that can indicate if your creative is starting to fatigue. And I guess kind of the skill or talent or the job for us, if we want to be running ads profitably, is to catch those things before we start eating into all of our profits. Catch those things before the ad starts getting too expensive, before we end up spending $100 on a purchase because we haven't checked it in 5 days. And then we kind of lost all of that, profit and yeah, that we had gained in the first few days of that ad, because that ad should have been swapped out a few days earlier so it could kind of fire again and keep going and keep building and keep that momentum rolling. It is a bit like a lawnmower, a pull start lawnmower, not a fancy electric lawnmower, not a lawnmower you just plug in and turn a button on. Do I know? I've never mowed the lawn. I'm sorry, so I hope this is correct, but my husband mows the lawn often. I've seen my dad do it for years. So they have the pull start with the ripcord and you pull it. Meta is a bit like that with ads. It's that you need to keep injecting that new creative to give it that oomph and that kick. It needs that to get it going again. Otherwise it starts to slow. And then you got to inject new creative to get it like firing again. And that's how you can keep it going along without crashing and burning completely. Because what happens is if you get back to ground zero, you have to start again. So if you come back to like no ads running, no money, you've scaled your budget all the way back. Your ads were working, they stopped working, you halved your budget again. You're now back at square one and you really have to start building that again and start turning it and turning it and turning it, like pulling the ripcord on your lawnmower again and again to get that momentum rolling again. So the skill is in catching these ads before they get so far to burnt out that you've kind of come to a dead stop and you're starting back at square one. I hope this is helpful. I hope some of these are making sense to you with your ads if you found some of them have just stopped working and you just at a loss why. So that was a little bit about budget, but also a little bit about the wrong audience. So are you targeting top of funnel traffic, cold traffic, or warm traffic? If you're targeting cold traffic, those ads will run longer before they fatigue or burn out. They'll keep going longer. But if you're targeting a smaller group, it makes sense. They're just going to fatigue faster because the group you're targeting is far smaller. That's like logical. The next one is interesting and totally applies to me because I have a very small niche. My episode a couple of weeks ago, I spoke with one of my clients actually. His name is Dan, and he's been working with me, and I've been working with him, I say as well, because he's been around supporting me while I've been learning lots of stuff as well about his business for a year. And he has a business called One Drop Cartel. It's an online clothing brand for sun protection, adventure wear, really street art, graffiti style artwork's really cool. He's in Perth. I spoke to him in episode 151. It's my first ever episode of an interview. So I did an interview with him and I spoke to him, and his niche is quite large. So a lot of his ads, we can keep them running longer than my own e-commerce store. And I've learned that because I've been working with him for a year now. So I've learned a lot about how his ad account kind of performs because each ad account is different. They each have their own peculiarities about them. And mine, I know, my creative burns out faster than his creative does. My niche is very small. And I've come to the realization and trying to make peace with the fact that I potentially need to expand overseas if I want to grow my own e-commerce store big enough that I could, be a big brand that employs lots of people and has a factory somewhere or something like that, like some really cool, crazy, far off dream. I don't think I can find all the customers I need here in Australia. I'm sort of thinking about that and maybe coming to terms with that a bit for myself. So my niche is very small here in Australia, but Dan, his niche is quite large, which means his creative, when it's good, I mean, this obviously all depends on good creative, which goes back to my point one. Remember how I talked about the variety of creative you have? You can't have really crappy creative. You can't just have 10 images with 10 identical images with 10 different text overlays and call that 10 unique, amazing ads. Meta doesn't see them all as 10 ads. It will see them too similarly and will penalize you for that. So I'm talking here about good creative, creative you have spent some time thinking about and creating, which Dan does. His creatives are amazing. And if you listen to that episode, you may have checked out his website or his social since, and you'll know what I'm saying is true. He's on socials a lot. He's very active and he creates amazing content. His ads are great, his videos are great, his graphics are great, which means he has a longer runway. He's got a big niche and his creatives are great. So we can run his ads for a longer period of time before we get to creative fatigue. And I've learned that about his account. My account is different. I cannot run my ads for as long as his before my own e-commerce stores ads hit creative fatigue and stop working. The last one I want to talk about is a bit philosophical, and it's more about you as the founder. And I guess it relates a bit to my point before about Dan and his e-commerce store and my own e-commerce store and the differences or similarities, is that if we have low energy and we are rushing, making creatives, that often translates into how well they perform on Meta. They might take off well. They might take off well. They may not take off at all. They might not get much spend. They might get no add to carts. Like they may not even get a look in. Meta may not serve them to hardly anybody. Their reach may be really restricted, so no one's really seeing them. Or they may start off really well, but they will tank fast. Sometimes that's because we haven't put enough energy into it as a founder. Oh, that's hard. I don't even like saying that because it feels mean to tell you guys that. It honestly does because I'm struggled with this as well. I'm looking into user generated content. I've got a content creator that I've subcontracted out for a big group of work. I've used a couple of content creators previously. I have brand creators, which is some of my customers who I have reached out and offered customers to apply to be a brand creator. So they are creating content in exchange for products as well. There's lots of different ways I'm trying to create good content. But this is something that affects a lot of us if you're not a content creator at heart. So if you're not a content creator at heart and you don't love the process of creating content, you may find this really might be your bottleneck or your issue when it comes to why your ads aren't working, is that we can't just throw together ads and kind of expect them to work and sort of hope for the best and just chuck them out there. We could a couple of years ago, honestly, like 2020. I mean, 2020, I should exclude. That was a bit of an anomaly. 2021, before Apple did its big privacy update, like it was a bit of the Wild West once Apple did its privacy update in 2021. But before it did, we really could just put a product image out there and get sales that were profitable from it. Potentially the new world for that now is TikTok. Arguably, not even potentially, arguably the new world for that or the new Wild West is organic social media. Is your efforts in organic social media will exponentially pay off for you because that's where you can go viral. That's where everyone is online looking at TikTok and Instagram Reels. So putting effort into your organic social media and then deciding which of those ads to run, those pieces of content to run as ads is a really healthy strategy. That's absolutely a strategy worth doing if you are inclined to do so. But if you're not inclined to make as much creative as Meta probably needs you to or wants you to, this may be the reason why your ads aren't working. And we need to, me as well, like we need to come around to this and accept the platform for what it is, and how to win on the platform now is different than how to win on the platform last year, which means creating more images and more videos. I have a creative kit. It's an idea generation kit that I give my clients. It's nothing groundbreaking. You can find all these ideas yourself on Google or if you look on social media for ideas of creating ads. But this creative kit that I give my clients who I work with is really just about helping stop them being paralyzed of not knowing what to do. What ad do I create today? What video should I create this week? If I want to spend 4 hours this week creating content, what do I even create? So I have a PDF document that I give my clients to give them some ideas of what types of content to create. But like I said, it's not groundbreaking. You can find all this stuff yourself, but the problem is we start to doom scroll and we get stuck kind of in the research phase of what ads to create. And if I have a Trello board saved with content ideas, that I started that Trello board several years ago, and I keep adding things to it when I find ads that I want to create or cool videos that I see that I want to replicate. Have I made any of them? Oh, maybe like 5% of them, hardly at all, because I keep banking them there and then not going to it and creating them. So that's on me. I need to like stop going searching for ideas and just sit down and actually create the ideas I already have. And you may be a bit the same. Just sit down and create some of the ideas you already have. And if you really don't know what to do because you are so stuck and you're just worried if you open TikTok to research, you'll be there for 2 hours, go and create a problem versus solution ad. This can be a video, an image, a carousel, or a graphic. And when I say graphic, I mean, you know, like a funky stylized graphic, a photo with some text over top or some illustrative educational purpose type graphic. Does that make sense? Not just a product photo. Go create a back in stock. Go create a founder journey, either a video or an image. You can just do a photo of you with your products or me in front of all my products here. I could do and all the boxes and the things that are about to be shipped out. I could have a photo of me and a really meaty caption that tells people all about me as the founder, or an actual product demo. So just your product in use. I did this recently with a couple of ads and I've used them heaps. I've been running them like on and off for about 3 months now, which is actually just showing the product itself in the front of the camera with my hands. I'm not in the video, actually just using it. And then I've edited it. So it's just sort of cut out all the blank spots and it's moving a bit faster with some music. It's not, I'm not a video editor or anything by any means. I'm not a content creator, but those ads have performed really well for me and it's just showing it in use. And when I think about that, remember in all these situations, try and put your consumer head on as well and your consumer hat. Because there's a brand that I'm following at the moment and I found her through the course I'm in and I'm going to buy some things from her business for Christmas as gifts because I just think her stuff is amazing. And she's still early in her journey as well, but she goes to a lot of markets interstate. So she travels around the state a lot for the big, what are the markets? There's finders keepers and makers markets and all those sorts of markets around. Is that some of the videos I have most connected with as far as enjoying watching and has helped me with a purchase consideration is her just using the product. 30 seconds of the product set up somewhere and she's literally just using it. That is actually some of the videos that I have most connected with as a consumer in the consideration of buying from her. So some of these things are really simple and we probably overcomplicate it. Just have some good lighting, your product set up and actually just use them and video that and put some video over the top. Anyway, this episode's not about content creation. You guys will absolutely find us more ideas than you can handle, I'm sure, of what things to create. It's just having the time to sit down and actually create it. So that's this episode. I hope that was helpful for maybe why your ads have stopped working. There are many reasons, and all of these reasons I look into my own account and clients' accounts to diagnose maybe why their ads have stopped working. Checking especially, like, are we looking at ads? One of the big ones, I guess, if I was going to give you a top one, I guess immediately I would look at the frequency and the reach when compared to the different types of audiences. That's sort of my go-to, like, who are we targeting with this ad? Is this ad going to all the middle of funnel traffic or is it actually prospecting new? And what's the reach and what's the frequency on those ads? That's probably kind of my go-to as far as the first thing I would do, because often the solution is found in those steps, like who is the ad in front of and how often is it in front of them? And as the reach kind of started to restrict, has Meta stopped delivering this ad out and prospecting to new people, or has it started to circle the drain? Started to circle the drain, or did I just say that wrong? Has it started, to circle the drain? Thanks for hanging out with me today. Please hang about and listen to next week's episode after this week, like when it comes out next week. I hope it gives you some encouragement into your day one of a sale and how to like set yourself up for a launch. I guess my episode I'm about to record next about my day one of Black Friday sales is not so much about my Black Friday sales and day one and about me and my e-commerce store, but it's actually about what you can take away from it as a business owner for your next product launch or your next sale. Are you doing a Boxing Day sale? Are you doing a New Year's sale? Are you doing a summer sale, an autumn sale? Whatever sale you might have coming up or whatever brand new product launch you might have coming up. Can you take some of the successes I've had with my day one of my Black Friday sale and layer some of those ideas over your next launch or your next sale? So I'll see you next week in the next episode. Thanks for hanging out with me today. As always, keep learning.